Welcome back to another episode of Talking Ball with Steve Speak. I am your host, of course, Steve. We're going to be doing some drafts today. I'm going to be catching up on my slows. As you can see, I have quite a few still to go. And I'm up on a lot. So I will let some people filter in. But then I think we're going to get into some drafts. Probably first up will be the pointer. Give me 1 second. I'm having a little technical issue. So give me 1 second. All right. I think my camera is now working. Something seemed to not be working. But no, I think we're good now. So yeah, I have 3 pointers I need to do, as well as all these slow drafts that do not stop. So we'll get into the first pointer soon. We'll talk some of the news and what's been going on. Let me go over to the lobby. We of course have all the dailies out now. Primetime slate, the regular slate. We will be producing content for that with our now named DEGEN Fanspeak Substack, as we look to bring you content in every capacity this year, with, of course, best ball, pick'ems, bets, DFS, underdog dailies, the battle royale stuff. So we're going to be doing that both on here, the YouTube channel, and in our Substack. It is a one-time fee for a year. It can be a really really great deal. We're hoping to give you content year-round that is actionable and can help you and help us win money. So we'll be here all year talking ball, talking the different ways to approach this football season, whatever you like. As you could see on the YouTube poll, whatever you want, we're going to have you covered. So let me hit up chat before we get into the first draft. We, of course, got Mike Robb in here, down to the wire. Steve, honestly surprised you still haven't maxed it out yet. I still have some more BBMs. I'm going to start with a pointer because I got a couple left. That what would have been awful. Hopefully everything is working now. My sister's in here saying, hey, brother. We got Columbus in here. Appreciate you reposting that. We got Tyler, Emo Cowboy. Howdy, Steve. Tyler, I believe Tightful Tower is tomorrow night, right? And with the Coker news, I feel for you. It's going to be a rough one. So good luck, Tyler. And yeah, as I'm your Huckleberry says, Coker news is ruined my afternoon. Like for me, I have about like, I don't know, 5-6%. But I've been just taking them a ton in these last few days. So it might even be up closer to like 7-8%. Not great, because I was taking them, with the Thielen news and then the coaching staff coming out saying he's going to be in the slot. I was taking him 20-30 spots ahead of his ADP just to keep pushing him and get as much as I could on him. And not great. I did pivot today and start taking some more Leggett. I'm not the biggest Leggett fan. And also what I'm doing is some of these Coker builds, I'm just adding an extra receiver to hopefully get through. They say 4 to 6 weeks. He's going on IR, but they do believe he can come back. They signed Renfro. I think you could take Renfro maybe in the 18th round if you feel very bullish, particularly in something like first quarter. So I will say, or if you have any slow eliminators going and you have an 18th round click, take a Renfro. That'd be a fun, unique piece to may help you get through. But yeah, the biggest issue is I definitely took Coker in some slow first quarters, and that does not feel good. Tyler saying he relishes the drama. It will be appointment viewing tomorrow, that's for sure. Best ball Q, Coker news was very unexpected. Yeah, I mean, it's just 2 days ago the coaching staff was saying how he's going to be our slot starting receiver, and yeah, that is no longer the case. So we will get into a pointer in 1 second. Let me just Honestly, Coker and JCM high stuff and convictions told me a lot about who is in for the good game and who's trying to get clicks in Twitter box. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought Coker, when they traded Thielen, I really thought that opened the door for Coker. And then when they say that he's going to be the starting slot, because to me, he just outproduced Leggett. And I wondered if they'd move Leggett inside the slot just to try and give him a little bit more confidence, give him some gimme touches, because he is very athletic. He's just not the greatest route runner, among other things. So the fact that they were going to move Coker there, and we saw how valuable this role has been the past 2 years with Thielen, seemed very promising. So right now, I will say, I think probably, T-Mac was always going to be the one, even before the Thielen trade, even before the Coker news. T-Mac's the guy, but he definitely gets a boost. Leggett gets a boost, but really probably me, the biggest beneficiary might be Jatavian Sanders, because he could really be potentially even the number 2 early in the season. So I think he's a guy I'm definitely going to be moving up and taking more of. Meg saying, yeah, a couple slows. Yeah, no, I had plenty. So let's get into a pointer here. I want to get this started. I know it might take a while. It's 85% filled. I'm actually a little surprised it hasn't filled yet. I know there's so much going on out there right now. So I have 3 left. If anyone wants to jump in, I will be jumping in 5 seconds. And you're in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. So waiting on one. Hopefully anyone wanted to get in would already jumped in. And I will maybe pivot in doing slows as this is, I believe I'm under 200 slows on Underdog. So that's a win for me right now. But yeah, we're going to have to be essentially multi-tabling between all my slows and this fast draft. So this is full. Don't see anyone in here that I recognize. If you are, feel free to say hi. I got the 12th spot. As for some other news, obviously, there was the big Micah Parsons trade the other day. I do think it means the Cowboys defense is significantly worse. I mean, Kenny Clark's a nice pickup for their interior defensive line, might help their run defense a little bit. And I know they got Ezraku in the second round of the draft, but their pass rush was already a bit questionable, even with Parsons and the hope for Ezraku. Now it's just kind of Ezraku and a lot of rotational guys. So I think they take a big step back, particularly as, the Eagles offensive line is elite. The Washington offensive line, they, added Tunsil, they added Josh Conley Jr. It's going to be a lot harder for Dallas to get pressure in their own division, particularly if Andrew Thomas, the Giants' elite left tackle, stays healthy. So, I think they're in some trouble. And so I do think that could lead to some big shootout games. They also haven't addressed their running game. I mean, I know they couldn't trade him because Marshawn Lloyd was on IR, but the funniest thing would have been if Marshawn Lloyd was part of that deal. That would have gotten people very much not knowing what to do. All right, here, this draft is started. And, nothing crazy so far, of course. Some other interesting news that came out, and we've talked about it a little bit, but the tight end situation, the later tight end situation, I think has taken a big hit when you have the Likely and Otten both missing early time. The Otten one was very much a surprise. Likely had been expected, but it still seems like both could miss a few weeks. So I do think that's pumping up some other tight ends. So another reason to maybe be ahead of the field on Jatavian Sanders. He was already kind of moving up just from a lack of good options. At least Jonnu Smith's back at practice, and Blue Gesicki's, fully expected to be ready week 1. So at least those guys are good. But Later tight end is taking a little bit of a hit. I think you can still obviously do it, but I think it's harder to find some of the right guys. All right, here I am up. I'll go Puka, and I'll do the Puka London. I probably don't have it as much. I did just upload my exposure, so these numbers should be relatively good. Obviously, I have a lot of slows going, so I mean, first round guys have a lot more potential exposures. But Puka London, it is a Week 17 game. At least we know Stafford's going to start the year. Not sure if he's going to finish it, but he's at least going to start. So we have to feel a little bit better about Puka and Devontae than we did, say, 2 weeks ago. But it is, it's definitely a little riskier than I'd like. But I like that both Puka and Devontae are falling a little bit. Let me hit back on chat. It's not that people think that they will be good. Shows that they are not in it for the best intentions. Somewhere they push narratives, reason being own how it fails. Yeah, no, and I mean I do agree. Like, we should be open and honest. And like JCM, he's honestly gotten to a point that is really tough for me to click. Like, this is Commanders fan. I was even, when they drafted him in the 7th round, one of the first things Meg told, I was talking to Meg and I was like, oh, that's an interesting pick. I could see him, making waves in Washington. And then, reports just kept going and, we've talked about, but where he's going now, which I get is roughly where Brian Robinson Jr. was going. The issue is there's no thought that Chris Rodriguez could just end up being better. And I think JCM has a better long-term impact and honestly maybe even better over the course of the year. But let's just say Chris Rodriguez kind of owns the back, or has a significant role in the backfield for the first 5, 6, 7 weeks. Maybe JCM is the guy you need in the playoff weeks. But it's one thing when you were taking them in the 200s, 180s, 150s even, but you're now taking them in the 90s around pick 100. Like that's tough if it's a guy who's not going to be too productive early on. And Chris Rodriguez has been productive each of the last 2 years. When Brian Robinson went down, he got opportunities. He averaged over like 4.6 yards per carry, looked good in every preseason. So I think people are just totally against that idea. They're not accepting it. I've honestly been scooping up a fair amount of Chris Rodriguez of late. I don't know. I honestly, we'll check in a second. Who do I have more of? And also, again, a lot of slows. So I'm at 3.2% Chris Rodriguez, Ja'Cory 5.7. But I'll honestly probably end up pretty even on it because JCM just keeps rising, and so does Chris Rodriguez. But I'm making a bet with the 15th rounder, 16th rounder. I'm much more happy to risk that pick than the 9th rounder or the 10th rounder. All right. I am a big James Cook fan. Let me start with Worthy. T-Mac did go, right? Yeah, he did. So I will go Worthy Cook. Now, you know what? I haven't done Kittle much lately. Let me get some better, I want to be overweight on Kittle, which I just now slightly am. He used to be much higher, but obviously him moving up and just some of these receivers I've liked more, like Worthy, like T-Mac, has hurt my Kittle exposure. So 0031. And did I watch games today? And how much Arch Manning did you draft in college best ball? I'd have to look up my ownership. I don't think I know I drafted Arch at least once or twice. I only did maybe 25 teams. It's a good question. And I do need to make some slow picks as I'm thinking about it. But no, he didn't look great. I watched most of the game, but then I was catching up on drafts and some other stuff. Clicked in on like the Syracuse game a little bit, the Syracuse Tennessee game. Aguilar was having a nice game. Tennessee was running away from what I saw. Watched a few highlights of some other games. I'll watch tonight. Part of the reason I'm doing the stream now is, the Clemson LSU game is definitely the marquee game of the night. I do want to watch most of that game. And so up in 16. But yeah, I will absolutely go back and watch most of the college games. Bummer and Otten with 2 wide receivers out. Yeah, no, when, and thanks for joining, Sladen. When, like the Godwin news started to be clear, like he was going to probably miss some time early, not just be limited, I started taking more Otten because he wasn't really rising up like Mbuka was. And then, of course, when McMillan went down, again, I was taking more Otten. So I got up to probably 9-10% Otten, maybe even more before that news. So, yeah, that was a little frustrating. Feels wheels up for JT Sanders. Late tight end is still thriving with him. Gesicki. Yeah, I mean, I've been a little slower in Gesicki of late just because I still want him some, especially in like Burrow stacks. As another piece, but between him being banged up and Fant, at least now he's kind of going 17th, 18th round. So I still take him a few times, but I just don't feel as good about it, especially I used to take Gesicki in like 2 tight end builds. Definitely don't feel as good about those anymore. So, as far as I can tell, like we don't have actual clarity on Otten or Likely. Obviously neither went on IR, so hopefully within the first 4 weeks. But then there's that report Godwin didn't go on PUP or IR. They could have done PUP with him, and they say it could be till week 6. So I don't know, a lot of unknowns there, which is 100% the most frustrating thing about this time. Just because teams don't have to fully clarify things, ideally as much as they should. All right, I'm up. So I'll take Travis Hunter. But I think that's where the 0 RB stops here. I will go. I'll go Kamara. I still think he's just too good. People say, what about the quarterback play? What about the offense system? Valid, but it was pretty bad last year. I mean, Derek Carr was, injured a good portion of the year. They had offensive line injuries. They lost skill guys getting injured. But they are starting this year with no Taysom Hill, who was truly the vulture to Kamara last year. And what he did in 14 and a half weeks is just so impressive. And I think, over the course of the season, I just think he's a better bet than a lot of those running backs. I mean, I like James Conner a lot. I think there's clearly a path for RJ Harvey, but the Pollards, the Pachecos, I just think Kamara is a step above that. Like, sure, if Pacheco goes out there and gets 15 touchdowns, something crazy, he could be the guy. But Kamara just gets so many catches, so many total combined yards. I think he'll have more touchdowns because, again, no Taysom Hill. And I think there's just going to be a ton of dump offs between Rattler and Shuck. It's pretty wild that the three biggest fantasy villains of all time had joined forces in Pittsburgh: Arthur Smith, Aaron Rodgers, and Mike Tomlin. Smith and Rodgers made careers out of getting at least other star running backs. How much we used to the bill. Yeah, no. And well, that's the thing. It's that, Josh McDaniels is back. Travion Henderson, we're taking him at a very high level. And we know, we know the history with Josh McDaniels is very much split backfields. I mean, the one year they went to the Super Bowl, they had like 4 running backs with over 100 carries. Now, some of that was injury related, but I do think there is something to Josh McDaniels liking to rotate and split his backfield. Now in best ball, I can still be fine, particularly for Stevenson's price. Henderson's price, we're going to need, a little bit of consistency there. We just can't rely on like 4 spike weeks, for where he's going. Like you need a floor, and you need a lot of usable weeks and like good usable weeks. Like, if Stevenson's getting you 10 points where he's going, you're very happy with it. If Hendo's getting 10 points, okay, but that's not great. Like there's definitely opportunity cost. So yeah, that's a situation that worries me slightly that I don't think we're talking enough about. Jeff TS, just curious, how many BBMs do you have left? Well, I'm not maxing, so it decides when I stop. Let me check after this. And oh boy, I'm under 2 minutes on a slow. So this is so fun. But no, I seriously, I joke about, but I made this bet and I knew it would be like this, but it's what I wanted to get the volume down. Right. What do we got here? So up into, I do think I'm a little lower in Hawkinson now, and don't think I'd go tight end there with Kittle. I was hoping Mahomes would fall back. He did not. I'm going to pull up Dobbins. I need a running back, and I'm just worried nothing's going to get back to me. And I'm going to take a Bills receiver. Any money low. Let's go. Let's just balance out exposures with Shakir. I can't get behind taking a lot of Tracy and Warren. I have 3.8, 4.4%. I just worry both are going to get surpassed fairly early on and not have a roll late and just not pay off their ADPs overall. They'll have some usable weeks, but they probably should be going 20, 30 spots lower, in my opinion. I think we're getting better backs in Austin Eckler, Dylan Sampson, Ramondre Stevenson, Jags running backs, ETN and Bigsby especially. So yeah, it's just tougher for me to take those guys. As for how many BBMs left, let me look where I'm at on another screen. I have 80. I could do 82 more. I'm not going to do 82 more. So I've said I want to get to about 75. So that would be 7 then, I guess. Maybe it's not going to be necessarily a hard fast rule. Like if I have 74, I have 74. If I have 78, I have 78. So I'd say between 7 and 10 would probably be where I'm at more. I am going to try and stream tomorrow, and definitely Monday do a longer stream. There I'll probably be doing more BBMs because I do think it probably wraps up on Tuesday would be my guess. And then of course maybe some marathons and sprints. Maybe I'll do a BBM today. I'd like to get 3 drafts in the stream. I could do all 3 pointers, but if people want to jump into BBM, we could do that for sure. So coming up 10 spots behind at running back, good at receiver, have an elite tight end, and I need a quarterback. In terms of taking Dobbins where I did, I just think he's a guy who is going to have a role regardless. There's touchdown upside there. I could see both Denver backs being okay. Javonte Williams was like top 5 in running back targets last year. I think obviously most of those go to Harvey, but Dobbins will, have that short yardage goal line role. So he's going to have some good, solid, consistent weeks. But just looking at this build, I'm guessing I'm going to go 6 running backs, probably max at 7 receivers, and probably just do 2 tight ends. And yeah, the other interesting thing is the Jayden Reed injury news doesn't sound promising. I was behind him. I was definitely taking Golden more than Reed as it was. But yeah, I've moved him down. I'm going to keep moving him down. Probably not going to be taking much more Jayden Reed. Just some concerns where he's at. So let me get a quarterback with one of these 2 picks. When at the start of camp, Justin Fields was my second highest owned quarterback, but he's fallen. And running back, I have similar percentages on Etienne and Bigsby. Maybe I take Stevenson. No, I'll just take Etienne. I don't need to pull anyone else up above ADP. And I already have Travis Hunter, so a bit of a team correlation there. All right. Only 25 teams for college football. I just ran out of time. I mean, I've just done so many slows. Let me actually answer that question for you. How many college football teams did I do? Oh, that's under live now. Best ball. Not even. I did 17. So yeah, I know. I'm disappointed in myself as well, Mike. And we got TD, Mr. Fawson here saying, "What up, man? Hope you're doing well. Hope drafting is going well for you." We're in a pointer right now. Probably going to rip 2 more drafts on stream, which is a bit challenging because I'm trying to do these slow drafts. So we're making the most of it, though. And yeah, trying to think of, it hasn't been much big news the last couple of days. So it's kind of the calm before the storm. That's why the Coker news was so interesting, followed with that Renfro signing. But I do think we'll start to get a bit more, kind of similar to what we got about the Coker news a couple of days ago about how teams are, planning for their starting rotations week 1. We did get that with the Cowboys running back, though. No real surprise, especially considered Blue is dealing with that low ankle sprain, that it's Javonte and Miles Sanders 1-2. But I think we'll get that with a few more teams this week, obviously. as we head into the season. We got Peanut Punch in here. AJ, are you expecting a nice overlay in the sprint and or marathon? Are you maxed or drafting heavy now? Sorry if you covered, just joined. No worries. Haven't talked about that yet. I did, I mentioned like next streams over the next couple of days, I'll probably, throw in a marathon or sprint or two. I'm going to do a few more of each. That I was also kind of seeing if they were going to maybe, throw out like one last promo or something like that. I'm at right about 100 on both of them. Like I'm at like 98 on one and I think 96 on the other. With a lot of those are slow still going. I think one I've completed 80, the other I've completed like 68 or 70. So I'll get to at least 100 on both. I won't max, just definitely not enough time. And it's not something I want to auto. If they do fill, it will be because people are just essentially autoing it, which I don't mind getting in those lobbies. Sprint, I think that helps your advance rate to get to the sprint portion of it. Marathon is just some weaker lineups you're competing against because you're even if you're not in that lobby, every negative EV lineup out there is better for you, right? So let's make a pick and then see. So I mentioned him earlier, Dylan Sampson. We'll take him here. And I'm going to just pull up Michael Penix. It's a stack. I was hoping Lawrence would come back. He did not. I could take Herbert, but don't love the back stacking options. So I'm sitting at 2-4-5-1. Probably going to be a 3-6-7-2 build would be my guess. But yeah, so I'll probably end up like maybe 105, 110 of each. The marathon and sprint would probably be my guess. I do think it could, both are looking to overlay. Let me just look on a separate screen right now. We are at, for sprint, it is 53.7% filled, and the marathon is 55.6. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are going to be some people who just dump a bunch of entries. It surprised me that there's this much like potential for overlay. Last year, both were looking for overlay, and the marathon, neither totally filled. The marathon ended up being like 94% filled. So, and that was double the size. So there was over like 130,000 entries in the marathon. So you would think 75,000 would fill fairly easily, but it's not. I don't know. I think both are. It is interesting to me. I was chatting, Pat's channel last night, and he was talking about sprint in particular. But honestly, they're both. I think they're both plus EV contests, particularly compared to like the BBM, which is such a lotto. Obviously, as the upside of the 7-figure prize. And then even things like, weekly winners, like, yes, if and I understand these fans for like weekly winners and eliminator, but those, such a small percentage of people cash, get their money back. And then, it's really tough. Like you have to be in the top, 0.0001% of weekly winners to get like even $500. So, that's a tough one. Like I did like 20 of each, around 20-ish of each. And I think they have their place. I'm not trying to say they shouldn't be around, but it's interesting to me that not more people are those filled much easier and were even bigger. Granted, a smaller price point, but they are not the best ROI tournaments, I'd say. I'm going, well, I'm transitioning to Battle Royale streets this week. And yeah, I'm going to do some research. I did throw in one, Battle Royale last night, both the primetime slate and then the regular. Going back to your Saints chat from earlier, most impressive. Yes, That is true. Like Mickey Loomis, the GM, I don't get it. um, you know, it's and they just at some point, and maybe this is the year that they just totally tank. And of course, the Arch Manning thing looks a little, I mean, it's 1 week. We shouldn't judge anything there. I think, I don't take much Nick Chubb, but I will take Nick Chubb in this build, going 6 running backs. Receiver wise, DeMario's been falling lately. Do I pull up Leggett? I think I do. I need more of them. I'll take the hit in this one. I have really strong receivers up top. And, so if he ends up being kind of the dud that I worry about, it's not as bad for this lineup. I'm surprised how much DeMario's fallen. Even Kyle Williams is now getting back to a price where I'm buying again. I just took him in at 80 in a draft. So I fully believe he's going to be involved at some point this year. It's funny, these guys like Tesla and Horton are getting really pushed up, and for some reason, good reason. Not saying there's no reason for it, but a guy like Kyle Williams has a much clearer path to relevant targets, right? Tesla is at best the 6th person on the offense. They have 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end. And now, granted, David Montgomery isn't going to catch the ball a lot, but just in terms of offensive usage, he's no better than the 6th person. Torrey Horton probably behind both running backs, both starting receivers, maybe not a tight end, so maybe slightly better. Of course, the injury risk of Kupp, but still pretty buried. Where somebody like Kyle Williams could easily end up being the number 2, like Pop Douglas might get. This could be like a Wan'Dale versus Slayton kind of situation. Wan'Dale's going to get a lot of those targets and catches, but if Kyle Williams is the deep threat, he could end up with some big spike week games, particularly down the stretch. So, yeah, I think betting on Kyle Williams still is decent with the fall now. I mean, sure, when we were taking him at 120, 130, not a great price, but now, worth investing again. All right, coming up, definitely need another running back. Could go. I mean, if this was yesterday, I would have been. Obviously, I don't think Coker gets back to me, but I've been scooping Coker easily. I probably actually would have taken him in the last go around. So 2-5-6-1. Could use a tight end. We are going to get Mason Taylor, assuming he doesn't go these next 2 picks. And then I might just tap my last running back and be done. Rico Dowd feels good. Chris Rodriguez, also an option, but I think I'll go Mason Taylor and Rico Dowdle in this. Rico actually might benefit a little bit from the Coker news as well. Probably more targets available to the backs would be my guess. And we are, let's see, we're sitting at 2-6-6-2. Ideally, I'm done at running back, done at tight end, and I just need a quarterback and a wide receiver. And it depends. If there's no quarterback, I'm not going to force it. When Meg had Nez on yesterday, I think they just couldn't find a third quarterback that made sense. And, And there sometimes I do that. I mean, with Fields and Penix, I do want a third quarterback. So I probably will even pull somebody up, even if it's somebody like a Russ or somebody like that who maybe isn't the most ideal. Let me get back to chat real quick. Eagles defense is trembling and facing the incredible thunder lightning. Yeah, exactly. I'm in drafters all weekend. Yeah, I've been doing drafters. I did one just before stream today. Doing one a day for the August thing to make sure I get that promo. And they have a really nice promo on. You could do it, and I think you do it up to 5 times. I don't have that many drafts left, but you do 6 drafts over this weekend, and you get a free ticket. You could do it up to 5 times. If you did, 30, you could get 5 free tickets. So, if that's what you want to do. And Drafters is a little easier to multi-table because it's all in one tab, and you can easily go back and forth. And with the 30-second clocks, it's definitely easier to multi-table. Let me see here. Yeah, it is. I know he's not a great pick, but Miles Sanders, he's back in the 18th round, and right now he looks like the number 2 back in Dallas. I think he's worth taking some shots on. We have Jeff Cooley in here saying did some Wildcats today. Yeah, I did a Wildcat last night. I'm gonna be doing a lot of research this weekend and really ripping those. Slayton in here is crazy. The year after Polk and Baker, I have 18% of day 2. But yep, no, I'm with you. I'm still keeping the light on for Kyle Williams. There's enough promising things, both in some of the camp reports, and honestly, if you watch the preseason, even if the production wasn't there, he was getting open. He could have had multiple touchdowns if Dobbs hit him that one time, and another time he was just wide open, and they didn't even attempt to throw him the ball. So he's doing some promising things. Like, let's see here. Quarterback, we will go Daniel Jones. And receiver, we're going to go Roman Wilson. Meg has been very bullish on Roman Wilson, and there's been some really good reports of late on Roman Wilson maybe being the Steelers' number 2. How valuable that is debatable, but for this kind of build, I think he's a good, I think he's a good 18th round click. I think there's a lot of good, wide receivers who are 18th round clicks, including my guy MVS, who got saved by Kyle signing him, Kyle Shanahan trying to sign him to the 49ers. But no, I think Roman Wilson could be fine if he is definitively ahead of Calvin Austin. I do think Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 600 times last year. Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard before Adams got there. A lot of good games. I know their tight ends weren't as heavily involved, and I do expect the Steelers tight ends to be more involved. But for an 18th round pick, if Roman Wilson ends up being number 2, I think he's a very, very solid option. All right, we are gonna look over my team real quick, but we're gonna jump into another draft. So I went 3, 6, 7, 2. Fields, Penix, Daniel Jones. Definitely not the strongest of quarterback rooms. Kamara. So I kind of went anchor RB, then Dobbins, ETN, Sampson, Nick Chubb, Rico Dowdle. This is going to be mix and match. Definitely not counting on my running back in the flex near as often as I typically do. Puka, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Travis Hunter, Khalil Shakir, Xavier Legette, Roman Wilson. The back end of the receivers aren't as strong. The top 4, I think, are very good. And then, of course, Kittle, Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor is a clear starting tight end and a stack. So and one of the few healthy tight ends in the late rounds. So I'm been very bullish on that. Click, what am I at on Taylor? No, it doesn't say percentage. So we are going to get out and get into another draft. I want to catch up with chat a little bit more before I do. We got Green Bean in here saying, hey, Steve, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, Green Bean. Coker sitting there next to Tajay Spears is a little too on the nose. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. We got Jim Waller in here. Miles Sanders not being a 0 would be a pleasant surprise. Yeah, it's been, what a roller coaster it's been for Miles Sanders this year. And I will say he is my highest owned of the Cowboys running backs, just because he's been the cheapest. And I don't trust it, but I do want some exposure to what could be a really good offense. So, as a 17th, 18th rounder, he only needs to hit your lineup once or twice to really bring back any sort of value. Even if it is early in the year, I think that's totally fine. So we are going to get into another draft in a second. And I will do, well, let me ask chat. Does anyone want to do a BBM? I'll do a BBM or another pointer. Just let me know in chat. I will give it a couple of seconds as I take a drink of water. Also, let me know what are some things, what's everyone's biggest take going in, or not biggest take, but like, what do you think will be the biggest surprise after week one? Is there something that, whether it's a team, whether it's a player, that you think will shock everyone? I have a couple different ideas for that question, but I want to hear everyone else's take before I give my own. And let me catch up with a couple slow picks because I'm under 5 minutes, and that's never fun. As I let chat talk about what they want to do and what their biggest takeaways or potential takeaways after week one, or I guess biggest surprise is how I worded it. All right, so we are going to enter another pointer or BBM in a second. Would you ever take more than 3 peeps from the same team in dailies? So, I mean, if we're talking the 2-game slate, any 2-game slate, then sure, you just have limited options. But in a regular, the full slate, no. I mean, I think that's probably too much. Are there cases where it could work? I mean, if you get the right outcome of like a receiver and like a tight end, because tight end is such a low scoring thing with the quarterback, that triple stack, something like Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., and Brenton Strange, that something like that will work. But it's rare to happen that's what you want. So I probably wouldn't do it just because so few players are being drafted. Like that obviously can work in DFS when it's price considered and, you're trying to build a much deeper lineup. But I don't think that works as well in these formats where it's just 6 rounds. Just my thought on it, at least. But I don't want to say never, because I do think there could be a handful of times where it does pan out. Because even like 2 receivers going off from the same team, rare, not counting like the primetime slates and stuff like that. I think that's fairly rare in the same week. Like they might have 2 good weeks, like like week 17 last year. Higgins had 40-ish points and Chase had like 17, 18, that's good, but that's now that I think was a shorter slate because of Saturday games. But if that was in the main slate, that's probably not going to be good enough, particularly where you're drafting them. Bold take: Caleb Williams gets benched for Tyson Badgett. That'd be crazy, but bold. Jeff Cooley: I think Seattle will surprise people. I agree with this. I think Seattle and to an extent Darnold are going to surprise people. Not that I think Darnold's going to be a top 5 quarterback or top 10. Probably not in top 10 in fantasy this year. I think he could outplay his ADP for sure, but it probably won't be top as good as he was a year ago. Just because the offense isn't going to be as fantasy friendly would be my guess. But in general, I think he is a very strong option. He's got a good arm. He looked a lot better last year. I think Seattle's offensive line is pretty decent. I think their running game, whether it's Walker or Sharps, like they're in good hands. And hell, if they had to go to George Kalani, he looked amazing in the preseason. The receivers should be fine. Tight end, decent. So, yeah, I think Seattle's low-key can surprise. I think we'll have a pretty good idea after week 1 in Cleveland and Pittsburgh this year how amazing Tom Brady's past 40 career truly was. That's fair. I actually think Rodgers could be pretty decent. He was better than people give him credit for last year, given the system. But yeah, I don't think we should expect Rodgers MVP year. But Rodgers above average, yeah. Alabama about to kill my parlays. Oh, I'm not watching what's going on in that game. Jeff, thanks. Of course, always happy to talk ball. Even with Hurts plus Barkley and a third name is almost certain death. Yeah. Kayshon Boutte is the Patriots leading receiver. Well, that would not be good for me because I have so much Diggs. And I haven't taken much Kayshon. So that would not be good for me, but that's a team that could be wide open. All right. Well, I will jump into another pointer. I will enter in 5 seconds. Entering in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. And see anyone saying anything about a BBM or whatnot, so just figured I'd jump in a pointer. Let's see, what do we have? Wait on 1. Wow, Florida State 24, Bama 7. I did not expect that. I really didn't expect that. Florida State, I know they got Castellanos and a few other pieces and whatnot, but they were so bad last year. And I know Alabama's going through their own hiccups as well, but I did not expect that at all. Love Kayshon Boutte this year, my most drafted receiver in the big board. Wow. I've taken him a few times. It's just, and there's no doubt he was so talented in college. It doesn't sound like he's gotten the same level of opportunity. Because him and Matt Collins sounds like essentially going to share a role. And then Kyle Williams kind of eating, potentially fighting for that as well. So that's my worry. But I probably should mix him in a few more times as this closes. So it's a fair take. As much as I take May, I probably should mix him in a little bit more. But yeah, it's one of those things I just wonder how much of a chance he'll get. I know he's flashed at times, for sure. So I'm in the A spot. We got I recognize Big Squeeze, but I'm not familiar who that is exactly. If it's somebody in chat, please let me know. But otherwise, we will just rip this draft again, and then maybe we'll switch over to a BBM. So luckily, DraftKings has not gone to their, reduce their slow clock yet. Drafters is down to 2 hours, so it's at least a little bit more manageable. I do need to keep an eye on my drafters teams as well. McCaffrey went. We'll just go Nico. Nico, obviously frustrating. He hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years, but if he does, he truly can be wide receiver one. Just the prototypical alpha X receiver, massive touchdown upside. Not a lot to like, not much to criticize there. And, with their running game very questionable to start the year, I think he's even in a better situation. And that's another guy who's fallen is Jaden Higgins. Right now I'm not really taking much more of them just because I have a decent share. I do think, early on Kirk is probably like the number 2 in targets, but I think Higgins I don't believe Xavier Hutchinson's truly above Higgins. So we are going to go. Don't have a lot of Bowers or Brown. I'm going to go Bowers. Go an elite tight end again. That was a tough call because I've now gotten behind on the running back. Some of these running backs, so I considered doing one of them, but I should probably have a little bit more Bowers, especially. I'm not worried about the preseason usage stuff. I think that's all been way overblown. Like, I truly don't think there's anything there. And, right now, who knows about the Raiders receiver depth chart because Myers wants to be traded. They're not going to trade him, apparently. They signed Amari Cooper. Thornton and Tucker seem to be the outside starters, but how long does that last with Cooper? Jack Besh is waiting in the wings. So let's trust what we know, and that's Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. I do take a little Trey Tucker in the 18th round just because he's free, and he's got the most experience outside of Myers and now Cooper. But yeah, that's been a tough situation to figure out. So up in 6 picks. And we'll see what comes back to us. Lamar's there. I probably go elite quarterback. Not maybe I take Kyron, Marv. I'm way behind on JSN, but I think I just prefer Mike Evans. That's why I'm obviously behind, because Evans and Adams just easy clicks, and I've been lower on Adams since some of the Stafford stuff, but Mike Evans honestly should be. Why isn't he not going higher? Like, just talked about it. McMillan hurt, Godwin missing the first couple weeks, Otten missing the first couple weeks, and Buka raises 4 rounds. Evans moves up 2 spots. Like, doesn't make a ton of sense. Not that Evans can move up a massive amount, but and especially with some other receivers falling, like Garrett Wilson and Adams, etc. I think you can make a real case for Mike Evans to go, at the early 3rd. Especially given, on Underdog, his touchdown upside is just so massive. right up into yeah, T-Mac got moved up again. So Nico, Mike Evans. I think I'd go another receiver here. I'm behind on Pickens, but I love Adams and Worthy. Go Worthy. No, let me go Adams. I took Worthy in the last one. We'll go Adams here. Is there playing DFS week 1 you find yourself gravitating towards? I like 2,500 Texans D, 4,600 Mbuka, 5,300 Trevor Lawrence. I've definitely looked at it. I've created some dummy lineups. I haven't set my rankings yet for week 1. I feel like just structurally, I'm going to be taking more cheaper quarterbacks in general, cheap tight ends in general. There's definitely some value there. And I either, there's a few cheaper running backs I wouldn't mind taking some shots on, but there are some running backs in just some tremendous spots. Like I think McCaffrey could be great. Jonathan Taylor has just, maybe just a cake matchup against the Dolphins defense that looks very questionable. Bucky Irving looks pretty good with Rashad White a little banged up. I think I'm going to pay up at running back, pay up at 1 or 2 receiver spots, pay down at quarterback, tight end, and, the rest of the receivers, generally speaking. But I do need to, set my final rankings. And next week, we're going to be talking about it a lot, of course. Up in 4 spots. No running backs here. Even Connor got pulled way up. So Ridley, Devonta, Waddle. I don't take much DJ Moore. Don't think I want to take him here. All those other receivers there. Ricky P also, I want to be very ahead of market on. Might be where I go. Yeah, I would have taken Ridley, but let me go Pearsall. So another kind of 0 RB build to start. More unique for me for sure. But what I generally do with 0 RB, obviously didn't get an elite quarterback. And that's why probably, come my next pick, I'll probably look at a running back. Because I don't like, taking 4 receivers is one thing. Taking the 5th, 6th receiver, it just doesn't make sense. If you're going to keep pushing running back, it should be for like an elite tight end, elite quarterback. Get really good at the onesie positions. Taking the 5th or 6th receiver, those kind of 0 RB builds just, I think, are much harder to pull off. Can some work? Sure, but I don't think they work nearly as well. I say that, and there are a couple of receivers here who I will absolutely look at taking. So maybe I will. Yeah, with Pacheco and Pollard going, those would have been the only running backs. I will go Diggs. For a while there, it was tough to get the Diggs Pearsall again, but I'll do it. So, but this could end up being, a week 14 buy overlap. I might only do 6 receivers in this build. We'll see, obviously, how it pans out, but it's kind of what I'm looking at now. The Flowers fall was interesting. it's tough for me when I just think Diggs is likely a better receiver. Yeah, appreciate that, Jeff. Yeah. JT Sanders, exactly. No, JT Sanders, cheap tight end, 100%. We're going to do early look week 1 on Monday. Yep. Look forward to doing DFS content on this channel and season. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Mr. Grapefruit. How are you feeling about Achane and the calf? Having CMC PTSD. Yeah. I mean, so I started to take them once or twice again, but I had bumped them essentially down to the turn, the 2-3 turn. And so I hadn't taken them for a while. I took them 1 or 2 times. So I'll probably mainly only take them in cheaper stuff now. Like, doubt I take them in any more BBMs or even marathons and sprints, just because there is risk there. And, you know, at one point I was at like 10% him, down to like 7%. So yeah, it's not great. So yeah, the Achane situation, I'm hoping it's not like the CMC thing, but I do worry. Like, there are the reports that it's an injury that is ripe for re-aggravation. The reports that, well, wait, let's see where I go here. Do I even push running back further? But Baker would be tempting. No, I don't need to reach on Baker. I will take a falling Swift. Sorry, I had that by my ranks, not ADP. Baker comes back, then I'll go there. Maybe I go another running back. So that's what I'm looking at for these picks likely. But yeah, just with Miami in general, that offensive line looks bad. So I already think he should, you know, when the Jonnu trade happened, I moved Achane way up because I thought he was going to be a big beneficiary there. But now I'm just really worried about this offense and don't feel good about it. So I just think guys like Jonathan Taylor, you know, Brown, Bucky, they're just better. They're in better offenses. Probably going to get just as much, if not more, workload. Just more upside, more touchdown upside, and for a guy like Jonathan Taylor. And I know Achane had 12 total touchdowns last year, but 6 were receiving. Is that repeatable? I don't know. So yeah, Baker comes back. We'll take him above Aaron Jones, who's fine, but not a priority for me. And we are coming up quite a few slow drafts that I am under 10 minutes. I'll say anyone who's in these slows with me is probably getting a little EV. Not 100% focused, but got to get them done. And so, yeah, this is a very unique build for me. 1-1-5-1. Probably only, I mean, when I take Bowers and McBride, I almost always do just 2 tight ends. So probably will be 6 running backs, but might have to go 7 with how these next couple of picks turn out. I think will be the key. As for other stacks, it's not the greatest group. I think if I get one of May or Purdy, I feel pretty good, and that could be within these next couple of picks. Yeah, it's one downside with Adams is, of course, stacking with Stroud. I did in some of the first quarter stuff, I've been taking a bit more Stroud because, and he could get injured week one, but I obviously feel the best about Stroud early on. So I think that's been a way I've been trying to get a little bit more exposure to the Rams and Stroud that way. So I took Purdy. I mean, I just have way more May. So even it out with Purdy, I think is fine. But now I need to catch up at running back. I mean, if Cam Scadaboo's there, I think I'm obligated to take him. But no, I really do need help. We got Eddie here saying, I took a nap and missed 2 slow picks. Sorry about that, Eddie. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, depending on how many slow drafts you are, like I'm constantly on slow drafts. Like there have been times where I've truly cleared everything out. 5 minutes later, I got like six back. So it's a grind during the window. I mean, there's a longer overnight pause, which is good, but even that will start to shrink. So, and they are wrapping up. Like I said, like around last night, I checked when the 10-hour clock hit again, and I was just over 200. I'm sure I've completed like 30, 35 since then. So I'm probably at like 170-ish now. So they are moving along, and a lot will probably complete by tomorrow. Yeah, that would, yeah, right now there's no napping for me. I need to constantly be by my phone or computer for sure. And in fact, I'm making some picks as we speak. So yeah, I need a lot of help at running back. Probably looking, unless a tight end fell, no. Probably just look at 2 running backs with these picks. So those would be the ones I would target the most. Braylon Allen goes. If I could get 2 of these 3, that would be fantastic. Because, yeah, the running back's gone a little heavier than I would have expected in this. And Eckler goes. That's a body blow. Really was kind of counting on Eckler there. I do like Sampson. I mean, each day keeps ticking by, and Judkins is not signing. When they announced a couple weeks ago the Jordan Schultz report, and I think 1 or 2 others said Brown's expected to sign him soon. So that was a big part of the reason why Judkins flew back up boards. And that was what, August 14th? And it's August 30th now. So yeah, I think there's some real risk for Judkins early in the season. It's clear like the NFL and the Browns are probably still investigating if they haven't signed him yet. So, maybe he signs before the start of the season, but I just think it's going to be a while before he's going to make any sort of impact. So, Sampson was a very good back in his own right and could just keep the job. I'll take Ollie Gordon here. A little bit more upside. Ray Davis is very good contingent back and solid in his own right, but Ollie Gordon just could have a bigger role. I just had to get another running back there. Nice. Good luck to, seriously, good luck to everyone else drafting during this time, both slows and the fasts. It's a grind. 5 slows going. That takes some serious dedication to mixing. Oh, that's a rough peanut punch. It's wild that JCM flew up the board and Eckler still valued me. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Eckler's fine all along. You know, he scored more. He had the same points per game last year as Tyrone Tracy, higher points per game Jalen Warren, and still goes well past those guys. Sure, the situations are a little different, but honestly, both those guys are facing higher draft capital competition at running back, and even somebody like Warren, Kenny Gainwell does a lot of his same thing. So it's not as clean as a role that people make it out to be. Right here, 4 picks away. And might just take another back. Don't have much Jaden Blue. I would consider him for this type of build. I just could use some upside. I really might be going 7 running backs in this build. I think I'll stick with Algier. A little bit more safety. So if I am only going 6 receivers, I should probably get a 6-1 that I feel good about. So that might be the pivot back on the next pick. I'll put Kyle Williams in there. No, actually, no. It is a double stack, but if I'm going 6 receivers, I don't want week 14 buys. Eckler could have more points for the first 8 games, but again, maybe the line will anyone score. It's Eckler's job for now. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a fair thing. Like, and Eckler's not going to like fully consolidate the role. Like, he's not going to go out there and have 250 carries and same number of targets. Like, his thing is he's going to get a ton of targets. He had 35 catches last year in less than 12 games, and he led running backs in yards per catch. I think yards per target as well. Or he led in one and was like second in the other. So the way I look at it is, it's just a situation. In 1 second. Yeah, we'll take Thielen here. He might have fallen back to the next pick, but being in the middle, a little tougher to predict. So and this is why I typically don't wait on running back too much, is I just don't feel great about this room. So I think I will have to just throw 7 running backs at it. Just have any hope to feel decent. It's tough when, I'm just not high on Swift. So when he's my top back, I feel really bad about it. But at least got him in a fall. Are you under 25% Scatterboo now? Way too low. Yeah, no, I am. And it's in part, he's fallen. I'm taking him some there, but there's just other players. A lot of times I'm hitting up a receiver there or a tight end or quarterbacks. And also, like, there's other, I do feel like that next group of running backs actually feels really good. Like I mentioned, like that, Stevenson, Eckler, Sampson, Braylon Allen range. So it's like there's probably not a quarterback there that I'm going to get. So take a quarterback, in the teens, and then the next pick, take a running back, is generally how it's been going. So Chris Rodriguez is there. That will be my pick. So 2661. And, I feel I can tack on basically any tight end. Feel pretty good with Bowers. And, there's still plenty of good tight ends. And, I'd like to have a third quarterback. And like I said, probably just stopping at the 6 receivers. Oh, boy. Yeah. But I do like mixing up my builds and doing a couple different things with this pointer. I do want to advance as many teams as possible in the pointer, because once you get to the playoffs, it's on the best advance rates to get to the finals. So in terms of a third stack, there is nothing really there. I think I will go, if he comes back, I would just take Jonnu. Jonnu Bowers feels good. Tight end. Jatavian Sanders is tempting as well. I think I'll go Jonnu. I mean, we've seen Jonnu do it. And also we've seen him with Arthur Smith. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, that will be where I'm looking at. Running backs, just looking for depth and volume at this point. Yeah, it's crazy, these guys who slide back in. And I still don't know what to make with the Bears running back situation. So plenty of running backs to take shots on, even somebody like Emmanuel Wilson if I got really desperate, but I don't think it's going to be that desperate. All right. And let me get back to chat. My RBs and wide receivers are deep on my last PBM. Chase Brown. Oh, no, that's nice. And yeah, taking advantage of Leggett. Handcuffs with Monongai, and please get Scaboo back. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely considering taking another Bears back just to have a bigger share of that backfield. Just did some Battle Royale data work and can tell Meg hasn't drafted because Scaboo has no ADP. That is fair. John opens up Rodgers stack. Yeah, no, Rodgers is a good third quarterback for this type of build. So 2 picks away. Hopefully I get Rodgers. And then I'll just take whatever running back is left for me. Started to take Kendre Miller in a few slows, but I have almost no Kendre Miller. Same with Damian Pierce. Maybe I just take them, but I would say I like Rashard Smith and Just Stone, Miles Sanders more, but I have much bigger bags already of all of them. And we'll see what comes back in a few picks. Then we'll probably jump into a BBM. Uh-oh. All right, here. One pick away. Which running back do I want? I think I just go with, I'm going to go with Quorum. There's some talk that he and Kyron could share the role a bit more. I don't know if I fully buy it, but for this build, it's 7th running back. If that happens, you know, he could end up being such a great value. So where some of these other guys feel even more contingent. I mean, maybe Sanders would have been the better play. Hill's the safest, but I didn't necessarily need safety there. I think I have decent safety with the floor with guys like Algier and, you know, all these guys. But Quorum, if he somehow ends up splitting that role, more, you know, it's more of a split, and he does seem to be ahead of Jarquez Hunter, then yeah, there could be some real value if the Rams, particularly Stafford, stays healthy and the Rams offense is, you know, top 10. So 3-7-6-2, Mayfield, Purdy, Rodgers, Swift, Scadaboo, Sampson, Ollie Gordon, Tyler Algier, Chris Rodriguez, Blake Corum, receivers, Nico, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Ricky Pearsall, Steph Diggs, Adam Thielen. I'm absolutely going to need my receivers to be hitting my flex most of the time. Bowers, Jonnu at tight end. So tight end, very strong. Quarterback, I think well above average, I'd say. I mean, yeah, Baker and Purdy were 2 top 12 guys last year. And then running back, well behind. But receivers, you know, and that was the other thing with Quorum. If I had a team correlation, if the Rams are good this year, Adams and Quorum, there could be a lot of points available. So, interesting build. By no means a favorite of mine. All right, let me get into a BBM. So I will. I need to make 2 slow picks real quick, and then I will jump into a BBM. All right, I will be entering BBM in 10 seconds. And you're in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. So Wayne on 9. Plenty of room for anyone who wants to join. So most everyone basically done with their drafting, particularly on Underdog, or are others throwing some shots at the marathon sprint, still getting a few more BBMs and puppies in. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see another like small contest come out early next week, particularly if it does look like the BBM is going to fill. You know, I could see like a small version of the Hound Dog, something like that. Just they were dropping things right down to the wire last year. Waiting on one person, so we are almost filled for this BBM. All right. I got the 3rd spot. Recognize Steel PR, but again, not sure if they're in chat. So we're going to get going. Let's see. I do not believe in Benson or Quorum unless injury. Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly the same way, and that's how I've been drafting them, but at least Quorum is still 18th round. And I don't like Quorum if I'm doing only like 5 running backs, and like 6 or 7, then I can maybe get talked into it. Thought you were reading off one of my teams. Appreciate that, Paul. Eddie, good luck. Steve shipping it. Appreciate that. Huckleberry says he's done on UD. Sam Robinson, got my home league draft tonight. Good luck in that. Stoked for it. Well, good luck, and hopefully it goes really well for you. BBM pointer maxed, hammering sprint now. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to, like I said earlier, going to do a few more sprints, a few more marathons. Let's do CD Lamb for this pick. Like I'll be on stream the next couple of days as well. So, do whatever's available. Sure, I'll need to finish my last pointer tonight, probably. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if they drop anything else. I guess they will, like Monday or Tuesday. Probably Monday, just for Labor Day. A lot of times they've dropped contests on 4th of July and Memorial Day and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do a contest on Labor Day. Charles Nelson saying GM, Steve. Good to see you as well. Eddie asking what pick you have, Sam. Max BBM, because I'm away this weekend. We'll rip some sprint, overlay it. Nice. Good luck. So nothing too crazy in this board so far. I mean, McCaffrey pulled up, but I honestly think that's very defensible. Appreciate that, Reflect the Sun. Appreciate the super chat. Hope your drafts are going well. He says 15 more slow BBM slows still, but they're finishing up fast. Thanks for the help this season. Really appreciate that. Happy to help. Glad enjoyed talking ball with you, and looking forward to hopefully good years for all of us. Unreserve my right to not be done if they drop something I like. I totally hear that, a Huckleberry. Sam saying he's got 12 spot. Eddie asking who you want to land. So, yeah, no. My home leagues are all done. I only have a couple. So not, those are all set. So I'm just focused on these slows and continuing to draft whatever's out there. So up in a few picks here. Got AJ Brown maybe falling a little bit. Nope, never mind. So probably looking at a running back or Ladd. GT and Brown goes, so it's no Bucky or Ladd. Well, Ladd, you also get the nice week 16 correlation. So if we can get this team to the playoffs, get through week 15, maybe it's the smash you need week 16 to advance to the finals. Charles asking, how are the 1 hour slow clocks treating you? Not well, Charles. I've been doing picks this entire time, popping over, doing a pick or two, coming back. I have so many things on the clock right now. So that is I will say it's been quite a challenge, but glad, this is what I wanted. So I'm not like truly complaining. I get it. It's all part of the game. How about you? Are you in many slows? Hearing anything about the Theo Johnson injury? They're short tight. Yeah, like we talked about this the other night, maybe when I was on with Andrew or Meg, I can't remember which one. And we're going to take Marion Hampton to just build out this potential Week 16 game. And they did what I said last time, moving Mike Evans up. I like that a lot, actually. But sorry. But as for the Theo Johnson thing, I mean, I've looked at a couple beat reporters stuff, haven't really seen much on it. So I don't know if it's just, obviously they don't have to like announce if it's anything serious yet. I mean, if it's super serious, yes. Obviously we saw with the Coker situation, but if it's like he'll miss week 1, they wouldn't necessarily have to announce that yet. Because I think, was it next? Might be Monday or Tuesday they have to put the injury report out, and then they'd have to kind of announce it. So I've taken them a few times since, but I've probably slowed down slightly because there is a little inherent risk, but it doesn't sound serious, like super serious, obviously, like the Coker situation. So that's at least a positive, but maybe could be something where he has to miss a week or two. So hopefully that's the worst case scenario. Going to get in 5 to 10 more BBMs, 5 to 10 more sprints, and about 20 more drafters main and me like 5. Yeah, nice. Steve, you only get 1 shot of BBM. Who you taking at the 12? If I got 1 shot at BBM, I think I'm for 100%. I think would go Henry, Brian Thomas Jr. at those 2 picks. I mean, you could say it in the other direction, but I think we saw. We know what Henry can be. In UD, Henry can be RB1. He could be RB2. And you'd be getting him, of course, much later than that. And BTJ, was honestly the rookie receiver you wanted down the stretch last year. He was the only guy who got 20 or more points in all 3 playoff weeks. He's got part of a better offense now. Has a good, good quarterback. So yeah, I think just the upside potential there. We saw what Liam Cohen's offense could be with the Bucks. Is it going to be copy paste? Maybe not, but I think you have a talented guy, good young quarterback, and potentially great offense. That could be a winning combo. But good, fun question. All right, here. Let's go Kenneth Walker. Just, balance it out here. And up in 1, Breece Hall's still there. Boy, is he falling. Don't take him too much, though. Low and Chua also. I think I'm going to go DK. Yeah. This is feels like a tough spot. Like, could have pulled up a receiver, but I think DK is a good pick. We talked a little bit about Pittsburgh and what Arthur Smith could be. Is he a negative for DK? We'll see. I mean, obviously he's had some top end receivers in the past. AJ Brown with the Titans. Even Drake London's rookie year was pretty solid considering the quarterback play. I think Metcalf's the type who I think he can outperform his ADP, but I don't think he can be like top 10. I think he's probably at best like in the 11 through 15 range at wide receiver, which is still value for where he's going, right? but it just feels like maybe a small win. Okay, coming up in a few. And I'm at a 0-2-3 build, much more standard for how I typically draft. But a lot of it is just kind of taking what the board gives me. Nothing too crazy in this one. Okay. No crazy. I mean, Rice has fallen, but that's what I expect. Ideally, somebody takes them because I really don't want to. Could go either running back or receiver here. Depends on what comes back to me. So Rice goes there. Diggs goes next. That would have been the top receiver option. I was taking a lot of Jacoby Myers. Don't feel as good about that now with that situation. I actually feeling better about Judy. But let me go Pacheco. I want more of him. I think he is going to, particularly early in the year. I know this is BBM, not like a marathon, but early in the year, without Rice, he could be quite the workhorse. Especially Hollywood banged up as well. Jalen Royals is injured. I don't necessarily think Tyquan Thornton's a thing. In fact, in dailies I mentioned, you need a scroll down option. I'm going to take some Juju. I think he is going to be in the Rice role. And I think I'm going to go. Don't take a lot of top tight ends, so I'll go Laporta. Just nothing else felt good. Yeah, this is one of those ones that just didn't like anything coming back to me. All dailies now, nice. Yeah, I mean, I've not done a ton of volume of dailies. I mean, sometimes I'll do like 40, 50, like between the 3 and 5. Now the 5 is now 7. So I'm definitely going to be doing more this year. But I need to figure out how many I truly am going to do. So that's still yet to be determined. But I do like them doing more and more contests. And I do recommend I'm going to be a user of it, but Pete Overzet, Nez, and John, if you're doing a lot of the dailies, they create a nice, battle royale teaching course. And I got it, looked over it. I mean, it's, the concepts you want, it's bankroll management. There's just a lot of good things there. So highly recommend it for anyone who's interested. You can check out their Twitter handles. It's also, I have to look up the name. Sorry, don't have it in front of me right now and dealing with these slow drafts. But I do recommend it. I mean, they're all very good guys, very good, very sharp guys, particularly in the battle royale streets, where they've all had a lot of success. But yeah, that is something we're going to be covering here. And, like I said, I want to make it a bigger portion of my portfolio. Steelers will be interesting. Fontenot back, Frazier. Yeah. I do think like Pittsburgh, like their offensive line, it's young and inexperienced, and there's some questions there. It's a lot of high draft picks, and if they come together, you might not start the year well, and maybe they're not a good first quarter team. But I could see it coming together. I really could. So let's see what gets back to us here. Up in one. Not a huge fan of this range. Take Cooper Kupp, another receiver. I think I said before, if he stays healthy, I think he easily outplays this ADP and by a pretty wide margin. Not I think we're going to see the Cooper Kupp of 4 or 5 years ago, but I think we are going to see the Cooper Kupp that is going to be a top 30 wide receiver, and we're taking him, as wide receiver 50 or whatever it is. Right around wide receiver 50. So I think you're getting good, solid value. He's a guy who can hit your lineup multiple times. And deck. I know the health is a big if, but that's the kind of bets we need to make in best ball. We got Justin Schuster, Ohio State baby. Yeah, no, that's a huge win, and obviously Jeremiah Smith looked good. Sayan looked pretty good. The defense, though, that's what impressed me, because Texas lost a lot as well. Both teams lost a ton to the NFL draft and just graduation. Texas was returning more, honestly, more on offense, not just Arch, but multiple running backs, multiple receivers. Like 3/5 of their offensive line, I believe. To me, with Ohio State losing so much veteran talent on their defense, and I know they brought in a few guys and still have like Downs and some elite guys on there, but I thought Texas could get the jump on them to start this year. But no, that Ohio State defense looked great. That was a very impressive showing by them. So 1-3-4-1 to start. Fairly typical, start for the first nine rounds. And I am probably looking at a receiver here if one comes back, but just kind of all depends on what's available. May would be tempting, but I have other quarterback options. I think Goff is still there. I need more Goff, so I'll probably go in that direction since I got Laporta. Bateman would also make sense. The other receivers I wanted kind of all went. Can double tap with Keenan Allen. So I'll go Goff. I think Dak Goff is a good start. Tough thing with Goff is with no rushing upside, it's tough for him to be better than like QB. I know he's like QB 6-7 last year, but that's like the highest watermark, which obviously would be value for where he's at. But he's much more likely to be like QB 13, 14, 15 than, 6, 7, 8, in my opinion. But I still think you want him. He showed last year he had 20-point games all 3 playoff weeks, so very usable down the stretch. He's going to have plenty of those throughout the year. It's just those are like 30-point games. He did have like the 140-point game facing off versus Josh Allen, but those are going to be fewer and far in between. So let me catch up with chat. And Keenan Allen, I'll just take the pick. Yeah, okay. Let me catch up with chat. Yeah, big win for the Buckeyes. Yep. No, that was Huskies. Yeah, that's right. Reflect the Suns, Huskies fan. Hartman in here, GM. I saw him doing the Banana Society drafts earlier that he won like 40 on. So congrats to Hartman on that. Hopefully you dominate that tournament. Reflect the Sun saying hi. We get to see Desmond Williams tonight against Colorado State. Or Damon Williams, yeah. Yeah, no, he's a good runner. I will be interested to see how he is as a thrower tonight. And all right, so we're at 2-3-5-1. Kind of like this build so far. With Laporta and Hawkinson, a lot of times I just go 2 tight ends. Kind of depends on who the second tight end ends up being. Could go 3 if I'm, kind of waiting on the last 2. Just kind of all depends there. All right. Where do you think May and Cam Ward finish in fantasy? Like what range? I mean, May had honestly, I know it sounds crazy to people, but he does have like top 5 upside. They added a ton of weapons. Our offense line's better, much better offense coordinator. He was, what was it? In games that he started and finished, so to take away the game that he, week 18 where they had him play one series, and then that game that he had the concussion, he was like 8th in points per game. He was fairly high in points per game. I can't remember the exact number, but he was up there. But the big thing with him is his rushing ability. He had 400 plus rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns with almost no designed quarterback runs. And again, that was in less than 11 starts, because I don't really count week 18 as a start. So yeah, I just, coming up on this pick, go Ferguson. I think that's where I go. Then I'll probably stop at 2 tight ends. Yeah. Yeah, that seems like the right play here. So, May, it's not going to shock. It shouldn't shock anyone if May ends up with like, at least 600, but probably more like 700 to 800 rushing yards instead of 2 rushing touchdowns. He's a big guy, and, that's why he gets the Josh Allen comparisons. I mean, 6 should be kind of more the floor for him, and he easily could be one of the few quarterbacks capable of 10 plus touchdowns. So if he ends up with like, let's just say 700 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, his chance to be a top 5 quarterback are very live, assuming, his passing is at least somewhat capable. All right, up in 1 pick. Hate this range for a lot of positions. We running back. I think I pull up Ollie Gordon again. Nick Chubb, I don't feel as good about. Gordon, I think, has more like staying power to be relevant down the stretch. So, May has that kind of range. I think he probably ends up as, more top 10, but there's outcomes where he's top 5. Cam Ward, I think Cam Ward's a top 20 quarterback. Some of it is tough because so much of it ends up who's healthy. Guy a couple years ago, like when Kirk Cousins got injured, he was quarterback 6. Later that same year, when Justin Herbert was injured, he was quarterback 6. So, of course, neither ended up being quarterback 6. I think it was Jordan Love. So, injuries is a factor into that. And, so a lot of it determines health. Like some quarterbacks would just get bumped down if they miss 3-4 games, and particularly if they miss much longer. So, but to answer your question, I think Cam Ward can be a top 20 quarterback. I wouldn't expect much more than that, just for a rookie. But I think he'll have a few decent spike weeks and should have a decent floor. Up in 8 picks. Need to check out a few slows. That is not ideal. So I'm up on like 6 under 5 minutes. And we will make some rushed picks, but hopefully they're still paying out. All right. Don't need tight end. Maybe I go Kyle Williams here. Definitely nice little fall. He goes, I will go Wandale. I don't take much Wandale, but he's a fine floor play. Just kind of need somebody. Coker is not mix. I'm not taking Harris there. Didn't want to take a third quarterback there because I'll probably just take Darnold later. Wandale opens up a Giants quarterback option at the end. So by no means my favorite, but I've been taking him a little bit more lately, just some of the other shakeups at wide receiver and all that. I'm probably just stopping at 5. This will probably end up being 3-5-8-2. Probably grab a running back here. I like Jerome Ford. This is a BBM. I think Chris Rodriguez, because it's a BBM and uniquely for that reason, normally I take Ford over Rodriguez every single time. It is the third week 12 bye. That's concerning. But Walker and Pacheco, hopefully they're healthy, can cover that. Maybe I throw the extra pick at running back. What I like about Chris Rodriguez is he's going to be so low owned in the BBM. I mean, 20% max, 25%. And basically everyone's kind of getting him at the same price. A few people, when the news first broke, maybe got him around 18, but he kind of moved up very quickly. And so everyone kind of got him at the same price, but then there's like 80% of the field that's not going to have him at all. So I think it's a bit more unique. And it intrigues me, like I talked about earlier, where what everyone's hoping for JCM, if Chris Rodriguez just ends up being better, and the short yardage back and early down back, people are going to, get a ton of value for even Rodriguez in the 15th like that. And just a huge leverage point over the JCM hype. All right, let's catch up. Justin Schuster, bad potluck and dinger, hoping for one team advance. Sorry about that, Justin. Yeah, I have 4 dinger teams, 2 as of last night. 2 are in second, 1 in third. All 3 definitely still alive for these last 2 days. It's today and tomorrow. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping for 1. 2 would be amazing. 3 seems very unlikely, but I'd take it. I should, unless something crazy happens these last 2 days, I should advance. I got 1. The only other thing I got through to the finals was a little baseball limb, MLB limb. So I got 1 through and through to the semifinals, and then it should go to the finals. So that's kind of what I'm looking. 2 7 teams could make, or 17 could have 2. Nice. Seeger injury. Candyman, yeah, I'm guessing he's not too thrilled about the Texas showing today. Poker Got's in here. Have you done any wide receiver at pick? Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I can't necessarily say for sure in BBM, but a couple times I've gotten it where, obviously take Chase number 1, Higgins coming back, and then for a while I took Devontae. Sometimes I've done Marvin Harrison just with that week 17 stack. And then a couple times Ladd McConkey fell back, and then I took Ladd and this is more recently, took Ladd and Higgins. So again, not sure how often it's been done in a BBM, but in general, yes, I have done 3 straight wide receivers to start from the 1 spot. So done at tight end. Might go another running back. I mean, the receiver's not too bad. I think Darnold did go. That is unfortunate. I'm going to take my guy, Taj Brooks. I did feel like I needed a 6 running back. 3 week 12 buys. Doesn't feel great. And then, Ollie and Chris Rodriguez, 2 young guys. So now it's 3 young guys, but at least it's some more depth there. So Micah Rogers again. Typically in BBMs, I am trying to get a 3rd quarterback. Advancing is nice. Also, I think with 3 quarterbacks, you help your chance of getting, top 10,000 team for a payout from the regular season. So we'll go Rodgers here. Yeah, I got DK. Originally, I was just going to do Darnold, but Rodgers works just as well. How much Coker do you have, Steve? The Nixon, yeah. Let's see, Coker, I'm at 6.6%, and it's definitely higher because I have them in more than a few slows. So, but then I'll be doing more drafts. So my guess is it ends up under 7%. So not terrible, but not great either. What was the Monday stream plan? So probably going to do a super long stream on Monday, like 3-4 hours. Meg will probably come on for a portion, do some drafts. Including a few dailies. Talk DFS as well. So maybe take a look at some lineups. So we need to figure out the time, but probably sometime like late afternoon, early evening, Haven't set an exact time on that yet. Just did Chase, Ladd, AJ Brown. Nice. The wrong low homer twice today. Uh-oh. I'm still keen McMillan in 20th round for playoffs. I haven't really been in on Jalen McMillan. Honestly, that injury sounds bad. I think there's a chance he could miss the season. So for me, I'm not taking him, but if you believe, go for it. Trying to max the pointer. Yeah, I got one more to go, Justin, that I'm going to be doing after this. I'm going to jump off stream after this. I need to catch up on so many slows. But I got one more I need to do for the pointer, and then more BBMs and a few sprints and marathons and all that. So coming up on this last pick, then we'll go over some things, hit up chat. I need a receiver. I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. That's a nice, solid, safe 7th receiver. Originally, I was going to go 8. Maybe I would have gotten a little bit more risky with that, but that balances out my receiver room pretty nicely. So Dak, Goff, Aaron Rodgers, all stacked up. Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, Ollie Gordon, Chris Rodriguez, Taj Brooks. Originally was going to stop at 5, but decided to take the Rodriguez upside with Taj at the end. CeeDee Lamb, Ladd McConkey, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, very veteran receiver group, no question about that. But honestly, a lot of starters, a lot of potential. Wandale, definitely the guy I'm the least on. But I needed a different buy from like week 12, and then Hopkins to round it out. Just 2 tight ends, but Laporta and Ferguson, I think that's all for sure. Good enough at tight end. I don't believe there's anyone else in here, so no other teams to go over. Let me hit up chat, and then we'll get on out of here in a few minutes. Good draft. Oh, nice. Let me go over your team. Sorry, I didn't realize that, Sam. Chai Down True, 3582. Kyler, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, Zach Charbonnet, Braylon Allen, Rashard White. That's a nice running back room. 2 upside rookies. Charbonnet, who tons of contingent value, will have some of his own standalone value. Kind of same thing, Braylon Allen and Rashard White. So I like that build. Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Marv, Garrett Wilson, Travis Hunter, really strong wide receiver room to start. Then taking some shots on Pat Bryant, De'Ami Brown, Michael Wilson, a lot of stacking there, correlation, and then Brenton Strange, Mason Taylor. 2 young tight ends, and stopping at 2. I think stopping at 2 tight ends is always defensible, to be pretty honest. I take 3 a lot of times, but I'm very bullish on both these young tight ends, so I totally get it, and both part of your stacks. So no, that's a good, strong team. Hopefully it's the 2 of us advancing. Why do people have to bring up Coker bags when I'm just trying to have a good day? Yeah, that was rough. Well, you at least take a day of rest between best ball drafts and the start of season, or will you be drafting Thursday morning as well? I'll probably be, I probably will be, because I need to get, so I did my drafters today. I have 10 more drafters mains and a ton of drafters slows to do. I got like 15 more DraftKings fast to do, and like a bunch of slows, and those clocks haven't changed yet. So even if I'm just finishing up on slows from those sites, I'll probably be doing a lot during the day, Wednesday and Thursday. So it's probably going to go right up to the wire. I mean, obviously doing other work and getting DFS content and doing battle royales and stuff like that. So it's going to be a busy week next week for sure. All right, let's see what. You're not drafting hours for kickoff. Are you even a sicko? Drafters should get an award for only going down to 2 hours. Yeah, it is nice, I will say, because I've had to do some drafters picks while I've been on stream, but not near as many as I have had to do on Underdog. So we will get out of here in a minute. I just want to thank you all for joining me. I will be back tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon again, and then Monday afternoon as well. Need to figure out that time for sure. But yeah, going to keep grinding, and good luck to everyone else as they are drafting. Enjoy watching college football. Clemson LSU game is starting at 7:30, I believe. So that should be a good one. Yeah, football is back. So that is exciting. We are, less than a week away. Thursday is right around the corner. So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good rest of the day, rest of the weekend, and I will catch you next time. Thanks again. Peace.